Hey guys, this is Alexander Dor doing another tutorial for AE Tuts Plus, and I really hope you're gonna have fun in this one. I'm gonna show you how to create a typographic animation, including some statistic informations. To be honest, we're using the Motion Design Census 2010 in this one, and we're gonna try to bring some of the data they give us into life and make some cool graphics out of it. This typography kinetic kind of thing has been very popular in the last time, and today I'm going to show you how to do this and essentially why I'm going to do some things as I did. So let's first take a look. Okay, so let's go through some steps, and I'm gonna just explain to you why I made these decisions. For example, with this floating kind of thing here, I think, in my opinion, it makes it just look a little bit more organic, and we're gonna take a look. We're gonna focus on this basically a few minutes later. And we're gonna also take a look at how to create this overall textured kind of thing without texturing every layer itself. And yeah, this is just pretty basic typography kind of animation. We got this little floating line here with a scale effect. I like it pretty much. We're gonna talk about the font. It's a quite important choice if you're doing typographic animations. And last but not least, I'm going to show you quickly how to create this kind of cool pie chart. Yeah, so let's close QuickTime and hop right into After Effects to begin. First of all, let's create a new composition. In my case, it's totally okay if we choose HDTV 720 25p. We need at least 90 seconds, and hit OK. We're gonna create a new one and make it 100% in my case. And let's firstly create the gray background, which is our first background. We're gonna have two backgrounds, or if you're really strict, you can say maybe we have even three backgrounds. We have this one, and the grayish one. In the original animation, something was in this grayish one. In our case, it's just the pie chart. In this case, so we're gonna have three backgrounds. You may probably say you can leave that animation and put this information just in here, but I really wanted to make it just unique. Of course I tried to make it unique, and I also wanted to make it not make it boring. So I created three backgrounds, and let's start with the first one, which is our main background, which is below everything else. It's the gray solid. So let's I hit CMDY to create a new solid, and let's make this one grayish. Okay, and let's just drop in our first texture here. So I got two textures. First one is this, and second one is this. In my case, I want to take this one because the other one is a bit too dark, I think. Let's choose overlay, and let's lower this just a touch to let's say 90, 95, 93 is pretty nice, pretty decent. And let's lock this to avoid moving this layer when you don't want to move it. One quick tip: if you go to Creatica, go to free textures, you find some very decent ones here. In my case, I choose the Premium Pixels texture, which are really great, thanks to Orman Clark from Theme Forest. He's a very good author. And he put these awesome textures up on the internet, and yeah, in this case we're using this one. So as you see, I created a new solid and we're gonna make this dark blue, and this is going to be our vignette. I just want to have some kind of retro feeling in this one, so I made it dark blue, but of course if you want to have it really corporate, you can make it dark gray, or at least even you can go without a vignette. So let's play around with the mask expansion. Of course we're gonna readjust this later, and let's turn this down to 70% or maybe even 60. We don't want to have a big vignette, we just want to have a really slight and minimalistic vignette in the corners. So what we probably can do is turn this down to 50 in M to bring up the mask and bring the mask expansion up a little bit, and something like this is pretty decent. Lock this layer too because we don't want to move this, but first let's rename it to mask. Pretty nice, and let's create our first temporary background, which is a kind of dark blue, something like this. But of course our texture pretty much affects our colors, so let's hit CMD Shift Y or String Shift Y to go into the solid settings, and let's readjust this a touch a little bit. We're gonna make it kind of this grayish blue dark color. Let's just take a look at that one just to make sure we have the same result in the end. Probably a bit too blue. Something like this might be better. And we're gonna call this blue temp, or let's call it just blue BG, and we call this basic gray BG. And let's make the blue one 3D. Because we later going to move this one, and let's animate it in, probably move a few seconds forward, and let's animate the Y position value and turn it down to 360. We're gonna make this easy ease, and let's play around in the graph editor just to make it a little bit more custom, and we turn on motion blur at this stage. Of course it depends on how fast your computer is, on how early you can turn on motion blur and get a smooth preview, although you turned on motion blur. Let's hit T, bring up our text tool, and one thing I forgot is we're gonna go into the texture, hit S, bring up the scale, and scale this down a lot because this is too big for us. So let's scale this down until it nearly fits. Maybe 53 is nice. I'll lock that again. And let's bring up our text tool, and we're gonna write some text, and on which OS I think was our original question. Let's see what we wrote here. What hardware platform did you use? So let's write, and let's just write what hardware platform did you use? And let's make this grayish again. Remember to bring everything below our texture. And as you see, pure colors as this white will not be textured, and this red as well. So let's choose a not a pure color, something like this grayish. Thing here, probably make it a little bit blue, cold, and that's pretty nice. And let's bring this in. And before we go on, let's talk quickly about the font. I used Novi Center White. You can get this too on Creatica in the category free fonts. And yeah, you'll get this font. It has a few versions, which also makes doing typographic work with this very good, very easy, because you can choose light for kind of minimalistic style, as I love to do, of course. And you can also choose bold, and this should be semi-bold, I think. And yeah, let's just choose semi-bold, and we want to have everything big, all caps. And let's start animating this. Probably make it a little bit smaller. And in this time it is just right. It works just good, I think, if we animate this together with the background, because the background floats in from above. So we want to animate this together with the background. So let's link it to the background, and you see it comes in, but this is a little bit boring probably. And it pretty much depends on the style of your animation, the style you defined for your animation. But in my case, I just want to create something bumpy, because it just goes pretty good with the music I've chosen. So let's make this bump around a little bit more. Hit U to bring up the old keyframes we have in here. Let's make a keyframe, and let's go on a little bit, just a few frames. Go in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like this. Bring this down. Probably we should bring that one up a little bit. And let's again move a few frames forward, and let's move this up again. Move a few frames forward, move this down. And this is something we're gonna do often in this tutorial, because, as I said, we want to match the style of this animation. So yeah, let's again make it bump down. One last thing, and I think this goes well with our existing animation. Let's make them all easy ease and take a look. We can even preview this that way. So let's render it. It's not real time actually. Okay, we need to bring this to the position where our background animation ends. And I think this looks quite good. Yeah, this is really nice. Our only problem is that it is too that there's too much space between the top border and our text, because we want to have some graphs here. So let's select all keyframes, go to the last one, and just move it up a bit. And this will do a pretty good job, I think. So let's go on creating our graphs. And let's quickly jump into the PDF of the motion design census. You can download it online. And let's take a look what we have there, and then discuss how we want to animate this. So again, it's the Motion Design Census 2011. We have this hardware platform where Mac just wins. And you can just see, when you look in the numbers, it's about 1/3 of the whole Mac, or 1/4 of the whole Mac is PC. And we want to leave Linux and Flame behind in this case, because it's just so less important. So let's just take a look at Mac and PC, and we want to recreate this just that it fits almost to the numbers. So let's choose the round rectangle mask tool. Make sure you haven't selected anything, and now that I take a look at this, we should probably move this again up a bit, just to get some more space. So again, make sure you haven't selected anything, and let's draw our first bar. bar graph. Make sure just keep in mind that our text has to be on the top of that. So I think that is okay. And let's just fill it. Again, put it below our paper texture. And we want to make it a little kind of yellowish thing, a little darker. And let's just compare it with what we had here. Yeah, probably a little bit too yellowish, maybe a little bit darker. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna readjust this later, because later this is going to be our background. Yeah, let's just stretch that. We got some serious issues at that point. So if somebody knows how to fix them, just write it into the comments. Let's probably go into the rectangle path. But yeah, we got some serious issues with that. So let's delete the rectangle, but stay in our shape layer and draw that one again. And make it that big. Yeah, little adjustments. We can do little adjustments in here. And this is probably a little bit too thick, so let's make it a little smaller. But again, this is all adjustments. You can do the adjustments. I just wanted to show you how and why I do it, why I do certain things. So let's take, now that we have our first bar graph, let's go into animating this one. So hit P, bring up the position, and we're gonna leave just a small time between bringing this in, because it should fit to the music. But let's take a look. Okay, this works. So let's just leave a few frames. Space between them, just readjust the anchor point in case we want to rotate that one later or we do anything fancy. And let's hit the stopwatch, bring this forward, and bring this one down. And now we have moving it up. Motion blur is turned on, so it's probably a little bit slow. And then make the fill color a little bit darker, more grayish. And let's turn this Mac bar graph, or actually it's just the bar of a graph. So now it's a good point to save. And this is pretty decent, I think. We should probably turn the stroke down to, let's say, 7 or 6 pixel. And let's make the color a little bit lighter. Something like that is nice, very, very nice. And probably make it a bit thicker. Another thing we can do now that we have it animated is lock the blue layer again too. So let's double click on that and make it just a touch thicker. And bring up our text tool, or let's first animate the floating things around there, just to make it, just to bring some differences in there and to make it less boring. So duplicate this. Go to fill, choose none, and now it's good that we have the anchor point in here. This will help us later, but let's move the anchor point down just a bit, and we want to turn off the keyframing in this case, but link that one together, and right at that point. Yeah, let's just take a look. We want to move it above, so let's scale this down to about 68% right at that point and move it below. And now let's move just a few frames forward, almost a second, and scale this one up. But now I'm going to cheat a little bit by just moving this down because it gets too high, too tall. Yeah, let's make those, both of them, easy ease. And just again, I'm going to say this more often in this tutorial, but we want to go again into the graph editor and play around with the curve, even if it's just a slight change. It's not the curve that After Effects gives you, and I think people will notice that. Probably it's not the most natural thing you get. Probably there are more natural things you can animate, but I think it's pretty decent. So let's turn this probably up until we almost see it. Probably 77, and this is pretty good. And let's hit Shift T to bring up our opacity, keyframe that one, go down to 0%, and go to the last frame where it is finished. Oh, sorry. Turn that one down to 0 and that one up to 100, of course. And let's make them easy, so we don't have to adjust their curves in this case, because I don't think you would see them. Again, save, and let's take a look. And if it's good, we're gonna duplicate that. Probably a little bit too late. So let's move this whole thing a frame forward. And this is pretty nice, so let's go on pretty quickly. Okay, so now we have the first one. And let's really quickly duplicate our floating kind of thing, but first rename it. Floating, or whatever you want. Yeah, rename this, hit U to bring up all our keyframes. We want to delete the anchor point keyframe, we don't need this. And move it a few frames back. And this is a little bit too late. Something like this is pretty nice. Let's preview it. And I'm gonna go on pretty quickly right after we created the text, just by duplicating those. So let's create a text layer, call it Mac, and this one again above our paper texture, make it 3D and turn on motion blur. And we want to make this smaller. Hit CMD Shift H to turn off all our markers and borders. Again, anything you want, anything you see. Sorry. And now we have our text here. Probably make it 1 pixel bigger, just to have it seen better. And yeah, that's pretty nice. Again, turn on again our guidelines. Move our anchor point to the top. We're gonna cheat a little bit because we have a background which is 3D, and making it in 3D rotation wouldn't be so comfortable. So let's just cheat the 3D look by animating the Y scale amount. And I want to animate this right at that point. And let's turn this down to 0. Go forward a few frames, probably, and let's turn this up to 100. Again, this is the same game as before. We are just going to animate some bouncing kind of thing. So I'm going to go straight forward. Go a few frames forward. Turn this down to 103. Go a few frames forward, turn this down to 98. 97 is good. Is also good. Again, move a few frames forward, turn this up to 101. And let's turn this to our final value, 100. Make them all 3D. Sorry, we also make them easy ease. Okay, let's preview this pretty quickly. This is really nice. Probably make this a little bit slower. Select them all, hit Alt, and drag the last one. Makes everything, extends every space between them, and this is pretty nice. And now that we got this, we're going to select all of these, duplicate them, set them off a little bit, go to our bar graph, and probably just even link our, no, okay, we're gonna do this later. So let's go to our bar graph, go to the last keyframe, select the keyframes all, and move it over. And of course down, because it's actually 1/3. This is just by eye. You can calculate this, but I just do it by my eyes, by my view, and I think this is pretty good. But we don't need it to be that deep in our animation. But just to keep the timing, we're gonna leave it there. It doesn't hurt anyone. And last thing we're gonna offset a little bit is our text right after it has shown up, and move it to that point. And then type in PC, and let's center it. And we just finished our bar graph. And quickly create a camera, because now we're gonna create our movement in our into our third background. So let's create a camera, and just to control it more easy, a null object, call this cam control or CC, but you're probably gonna screw that up because we're gonna probably add some color correction later. Call this one CC. Anyway, let's hit P to bring up the position and R to bring up the rotation. And yeah, probably want to have some space between this, maybe 5.5 seconds. Keyframe, position and rotation. Move forward about one second, and let's okay, we didn't link this one properly. We should link the camera to the yeah, and let's just rotate this 270 degrees and bring the Z-axis in a lot. Okay, this is nice. Let's just turn it to 1000. Okay. This wasn't a good idea. Yeah, just probably 1070, 1075. When you're doing this kind of work, or actually in every kind of situation, it's all about a lot of tweaking the things you made until it looks perfect. And you see, we got to see a little bit white at this point, so we could extend our black background. This may probably be the easiest way to make this, but I want to show you some animating techniques. So we're gonna do this in our graph editor by just offsetting our rotation curve. But of course, feel free to do it to just scale the other layer. Let's offset it a little bit, and we may have a little too much rotation in the end here. So let's bring it until we see just something like this is okay. I mean, no one will notice that. Nice, very good. And let's preview this with our RAM preview just to see if it matches to the music. Because in fact, people are gonna like it. If people are gonna like it, also depends on the music you are using, and not only on the animation you did. Of course, it depends on the animation, but also it pretty much depends on the music you used, and if your animation fits to the music. So bring this in a bit more. Probably 80, just that we see our vignette a little bit. Okay, now screw things up. Okay. Okay, that's not good. So make sure you haven't selected anything. Every keyframe if you change something. We get a little much rotation, so let's play around a little bit with the keyframes, offset them. And I think this is okay, but let's adjust our final position. Just that we see this rounded edge a little bit at this point. I think it looks quite cool, but again, this pretty much depends on your taste. Hit U to bring up all this in. Now we created the camera movement. And now I'm gonna go pretty straightforward because this is just all about basic animation principles and techniques. It's just, to be honest, it's just keyframing the position and the rotation sometimes, and also the scale. So you just have to be creative, and it also depends on your taste how good this is going to be. So some people might say what I created here is not good, some might say it is. So yeah, it's pretty much just your taste that defines it, and your I mean, this is not technical skills, or this is just about a little technical skill, so you have to be a pro. You don't have to be a pro to create this, but it is the design thing that matters in this kind of situation. So what we wrote in here is, so let's talk about the level of education, because our next topic is actually education. I skipped these two graphs because they're not interesting for global, for everything except so for everyone except people who live in the US. So let's create a new text layer, or in fact let's just duplicate our PC layer, hit U, turn off this whole scale thing here, probably even link them together both again, and zoom out. Yeah, probably it would have been better if we would have taken our Mac layer, but okay, whatever. Make it rotate 270 degrees, go in 100%, and let's type in. So let's talk. It's going to be our first text. I'm gonna make this really bold because it's basic typography. That is good, but let's select it all and make it probably a little bit bigger. That's nice. You want to make sure you have turned off depth of field, because if you turn it on, you want to get a blurry image. Okay, so let's talk. We have that one now. I think we animated it from above, from below, that it comes up. So let's hit P to bring up the keyframing of the position, and we want to readjust that one. Probably even bring this back in, because we have a little much position keyframing at the end. Let's go to let's talk, and at this point we want to start keyframing it, move that one forward, and let's move that one below, and we want to there's something technical in here, I forgot to say. We want to have it show up at this line here. For many people this may not be a problem. There are many ways to do this, to achieve this result. You can use masks, you can use the fading effect. In my case I just want to use a black solid and use this one as a alpha inverted matte. So let's toggle the switches and use this as a alpha inverted map, and you see it disappeared. But as soon as it gets, yeah, we have to readjust our black layer to that point. Yeah, let's move 1 pixel down, and you see it disappears below this line and it appears above this line. That's pretty nice. A little technique just for you to know, kind of a quick tip. And let's make this easy ease, all those keyframes. Go into the graph editor, and again, as we did always, let's customize the curve a little bit. Take a look at this. probably a bit slow. See, yeah, we turned on motion blur, and let's take a look at the RAM preview. Perfect. And we don't need to make our black layer 3D. So let's bring this in so that we don't see it at this point of the animation. So let's talk, and we want to continue with our next, not with our next layer, but with the third layer, with the layer education, because the second layer we want to just customize this later. Type in education and make this a little bigger. Of course, there's also typography, which is small, but in our case we want to have really bold typography. Also to see a little bit, not only but also because we want to see a little bit of our texturing going on in our letters, and we want to also make this bigger because this one is the smallest in the width. And this has the smallest width. This should have the largest width because later we're gonna have this one too, and this is a kind of nice, this effect. So let's make this even 20 pixels, and hit play to bring up the position. Leave some space between the keyframes. Move this forward, and make sure or keep in mind that these two values are inverted now. So if you change the Y value, you will change the X value because we rotated the camera. So select both, make them again easy ease, or hit F9 and again customize this a few times, and bring in our level off. So again duplicate that, hit U, turn off the position keyframes, and it's important to now readjust the anchor point. Let's talk about the level of is our next text layer, and let's readjust it until the width is between that one, the width of that one, and the width of this one. So I think it may be 15, and it actually is. Let's line this up. Readjust the anchor point until it is on the top of our text and in the middle. And this is quite important. And let's just turn off education for the moment and make sure you haven't got selected anything. Choose the pen tool. What's going on there? Okay. Okay. So some issues there. So let's draw a line from about this point where the text starts to about this point, but actually this is not too important because we want to later also scale this with keyframes, so we don't need this. Essentially you can also make it pretty short. Let's hit V to change it to our usual selection tool, and right at that point we want to also hit Shift T. We don't need to make this 3D because it is really short in the animation. Make this 100%. Let's move the anchor point to the left side. Okay, and again at about that point we want to make a keyframe, move the position to the left side till we don't see anything. Yeah, this point is nice. And let's move a few frames forward. Turn this one up to about 80. Move this one in. And move that out and turn this down to 0. And I think this is better. Let's take a look at it. Okay. Okay, a little too fast. And let's make them all easy ease. And take a look. Okay, too much scaling going on at this point. Again, a lot of tweaking. Okay, this is not what we want. We are gonna do this. Yeah, that's better. Extend this and also extend this. And let's try to kind of scale our level off thing. So let's turn off the scaling of this and scale it to 100% at this point. A little bit too early. Offset that. And this is really nice. Make this one easy ease too, and take a look at the whole thing. Okay, really nice. You can play around with that hours, but yeah, let's just leave it that way. And turn this line, rename this to line. And let's turn back on education, and at the point where this scales down and where it would hit education, we want to make a keyframe and move this forward until it's stopped, and move education down. And this gives the whole text a little bit more, I don't know, it's interacting together, and I think this makes it a lot more unique and nice. Okay, so let's prepare for our first and last camera movement. Set a keyframe. We don't need actually one on the rotation value. So let's go forward to just go 1 second forward, and let's change the Y value because we actually inverted that. And it's actually kind of a bad situation now because we made this a little bit too long, and we have now the space between the border of the blue layer and the space between and the border of that one. So what we can do in this case, we can go to Mac bar graph, and right at the point where we don't see the smooth edges of this, the rounded edges, we can start keyframing that just to have it at the right point when we come to that point. Something like this is pretty nice. Okay, so I think no one will notice that, but of course we have to change our cam control too in this case. We want to have a little bit of this inside here because it actually reminds us on the graph. I think it's always cool to see if everything is based on everything, and I think people will also notice that this was our original bar graph. I think this looks pretty cool if we again have this things still in here, because we actually did 3 informations and 3 actions just based on this one, this thing. So in the first one it was a graph, in the second one it was a background, and now it's just a design element. Depending if you want to play it on TV or on a PC, you want to bring this in a little bit more because of the title action save area. And let's just quickly create our pie graph. And this is actually pretty easy, so we're just gonna... oh crap, what is that? Just gonna choose the elliptical mask to draw a small circle, because you see, if we turn this 3D switch on, it's actually going to screw up. So let's bring this in here and scale it down a lot. A good time now to reposition the anchor point. We will need this later. So let's scale this down a little bit more, probably 15. Go back into 100%. Sorry, what's that? I think 14 is good. We're actually probably need a little bit more, so let's take a look at this. 15 or 16. Yeah, that's nice. And let's turn back on the fill option and fill this with a kind of orangish color. I already tracked that orange from one of these sections here, so it's the following color code. It's F55 F43, and I think the stroke is okay. Probably make it a little bigger. 15, yeah, 15 is nice, probably 14. And also lighter. Not even lighter. I think we go pretty good with that. A little bit lighter. Nice. Let's make the stroke a little bit smaller. We don't want to have it too bold, because we already have bold text. We don't need too much extras on this one, because people should focus on the content of this graph, of this chart. And let's apply some effects to it. We're gonna go to transition, and we're gonna choose radial wipe, I think. Yeah, it is radial wipe, and let's just move the center point to the anchor point. So what I'm gonna do is just show the guidelines and bring in some rulers, some guidelines, where there should be the middle center of the circle. Nice, very nice. Let's line them all up. The anchor point, we should line this one up too, and let's hide our guidelines. Call this BA, which is for bachelor degree. I think they called it BA. So let's call this BA chart, and they really call it BA in our case. So let's just animate that one, and you can see by adjusting the transition completion, we can adjust that one. And so sorry I closed the PDF, but I think it was a bit more than 1/3. And let's just play around with the start angle to make it look a little bit more different. 31 is nice, something like this. It's really good. I mean, you can calculate this if you want to be really sure, but I think most people should be able to do this from scratch. And let's start to animate that one. And right at that point, let's keyframe the start angle and the transition completion. Hit U to bring them all up and move them forward. And now we want to turn this down to 0 or to 100% actually, and we want to just rotate this one time. That way we'll get that. I don't know why, but motion blur doesn't work on this kind of effect, on the radial wipe effect, but in our case it's not too bad. You can use a radial blur if you need to, if you need to have motion blur. Again, this is nice. Let's take a look at the speed. Okay, probably a little bit fast, so something like this is good. Again, we want to have a floating thing. I'm gonna go through this quite fast now because you already know the procedure. Turn off fill, go into scale, and scale this one down. We should probably make this 10 pixel. Scale that one, and when it's just right at that point, scale it up a lot. Delete the radial wipe effect. Probably make this 8 pixels. Make an easy ease. A little bit too slow probably, and make this a bit bigger. Okay, everything is too fast. Okay, nice. Duplicate that one, offset it. Not that much. Yeah, really nice. Everything stopped. Let's take our level off layer, hit U, turn off scale, link this back, bring it above everything, and we'll just move it in here. Again, a little quick tip: if you hold the space bar and then drag, it will bring up this hand tool. Make it a lot smaller, something like 8%. Let's just pick the color we have at this point. Really nice, and yeah, we just at that point it should probably fade in. So let's hit T, opacity 0, maybe 100%. Nice. And let's create just one piece of the chart again, just for you to see how it works. We'll create, duplicate the VA chart, and the next thing I think we have in here is our graduate degree chart. So let's call this GD chart, and we don't need those keyframes anymore. Okay. I think I screwed things up now, so let's put this back. Let's move forward. And this is a pretty crappy animation now. Okay, So let's move forward until everything is finished. Go to the GD's chart and turn up the completion to about 90%, something like this. And let's just change the color, make it a little bit lighter so that we can see it better. Okay, hit save and quickly animate this right after the other piece came in with a scale, and also probably keyframe the start angle a bit, yeah, by moving those out, moving the start angle to this point and the scale to 0. Again, make them all easy ease, you know the procedure. Bring those in just to make it a sharper curve. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to have it that big. We just need 16%. And let's grab the pen tool, select our GD chart, and let's just draw a line. Turn off fill and make sure we have selected our line as content and make this dark blue. I mean, you could also choose other blue colors, but I just want to keep it dark blue. You can also choose any one of these colors just to keep it kind of corporate identity orientated. So let's select our shape, and I think 3 pixels is nice. A little grayish, probably a bit dark. Yeah, let's create the label, duplicate the VA, delete all those properties, move this up, type in graduate degree, and we also make it the stock gray of our first background, so it's about that color. Full pixel or 3 and make it semi-bold. Don't need it so thick. Probably bring this in 2 lines and up. And last thing is what we're gonna do is we're gonna link it to our piece of the chart just to have it animate together. And something is screwing up at this point. Take a look. Usually it's because of the anchor points. Select the shape, and yeah, of course we have to readjust this anchor point and put it in the middle of the circle too. And for graduate degree, we of course have to put it in the middle of the circle too. And let's take a look at this whole process, at this whole animation we created. I hope the tutorial wasn't too long. I hope you understand some basic techniques. I mean, you don't have to recreate the exact same thing, but I hope you learned the techniques. So let's extend this a little more and select all, hit Alt and extend them, because this is going a little too fast for me. Yeah, you don't need the Alt click at this point. And let's again extend, offset this, and this is also a bit fast. That should be better. Yeah, really nice. Last but not least, last thing is we should probably, they're scaling a little too much, so 26 is probably too much. Make it 24, and I think this was the final kind of tweak. Of course, there is a lot still to tweak. We should probably take a look over these colors. They're missing some pieces here, but I think this is something you should do. I hope I teach you the basic techniques and how all this stuff works. How you should continue this. You should leave at the same style. So let's just create. If you continue this, you should creating some bouncing animations, because we already have this bounce at that point. And you should also keep that bold style, because if you now start creating thin fonts and thin text layers, it won't look too good. So anyway, I hope this tutorial helped you. Hope it wasn't too boring when watching this one. And I thank you for watching. Of course, I had quite a lot of fun. I really like doing this typographic stuff. Hope some of you do too. And again, see you next time. My name is Alexander. Goodbye.